artificial intelligence can be useful, but so far it has upended our society more or less for the worse. Thoreau was correct when he said improved technology gives us an improved means to reach our own deteriorating ends. Linux in the world of computers is one of the last strongholds where AI is not forced upon us, although it is still available if we want to. In today's video, we want to talk about some of the major dangers with AI, why it is becoming worse, and just catalog some of the negative elements of society so that we can talk about this honestly, rather than in the words of, was that Malcolm on Jurassic Park, we were so busy determining if we could, we never stopped to ask if we should. Welcome back to Switch to Linux. If you like this type of content where we're talking about Linux and issues of society and things like that, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so. Leave us a comment down below and hey, either like or dislike the video while you are down there. With that, we're going to go ahead and move on in. And our first point we want to talk about is AI may actually be a net negative, and it will probably remain becoming more negative as we move on. But there is a stronghold which we will get to towards the end. This is not mere negativity across the whole thing. What we're going to talk about here is an honest conversation about AI that is not being had as people try and cram it into every corner of every computer system, because there are net negatives of AI. First and foremost, jobs can come and go. As one person said, yeah, nearly every job that exists now didn't exist 100 years ago. Every job that exists 100 years ago doesn't exist now. You know, there is this constant evolution. In fact, as I was having dinner at a group of people, they were having a discussion with a young man who's moving on into high school next year, and there's a lot of this emphasis in that age to say what should you do when you grow up. And I said, you know, don't I told the kid, don't work too hard at it. Every single thing that I do to make money on the internet did not exist when I was in high school. So we have to keep that in mind as we move on. So yes, AI will definitely take over some jobs, and some other jobs will come up that AI can't yet solve, although there will be a time when it can. And so this is where the discussions about universal basic income come into play. If, you know, there's this AI is taking over every single job and jobs become harder and harder to do, well, what do we do for society? How do we prevent every single city from becoming a tent city? Well, any more than they already are. I think that when we're talking about jobs, what we're going to see is AI will destroy jobs faster than new jobs can replace them. We are going to have a crisis. AI must be proofread. As I was looking at a video recently on what was it, Level 1 Tech, you know, Level 1 News, they were talking about the fact that they can use ChatGPT to write some of the code. It saves some time. You know, a block of code that might take him 20 minutes to write, ChatGPT can do in 5 minutes or less, but then it needs some serious proofreading. The big problem we have is with all of this emphasis to finish the project, not having quality control over such a project. Despite AI probably needs to be proofread, it's not, by and large, going to be proofread. And that is, in and of itself, a problem. Further, scammers have taken AI and run with it. So scammers don't need to worry as much about proofreading. All AI has done for them is making things a little bit better. And of course, it has destroyed search engines. So you think this is too much of a theoretical. I did scouring the internet a little bit looking for some examples. Over on Reddit, CMV, artificial intelligence is a net negative for society. Everyone seems to have a dream of a post-work, post-scarcity world. All the technologies that can create all the problems it can solve. The problem is all it will do in the short term is take jobs, tons of them. And it has already started. IBM or BT. I'm not sure what's BT. It's probably something super obvious I'm forgetting right off the top of my head. People are delusional to think that more jobs will be created than lost. I think ultimately maybe it's true that we might see more jobs created than lost in the final analysis. Even that's skeptical. But what is important is that as AI moves, it will destroy far more jobs than it will create in its wake. Obviously, I can create a brand new job for myself utilizing AI to do SEO marketing as I spew forth AI to do all sorts of things. I have the technical skill to do that. I'm not going to because I actually have integrity. I'm not going to spew forth more AI-generated gobbledygook onto the internet to further destroy search engines. And this guy does leave a comment down here. We have been destroying jobs for hundreds of years. Every job existed 200 years ago has been destroyed by technology. This is true, but again, the difference is that as the technology moves, as it moves slower, new jobs can come up in its wake. AI moves too quick for us to replace the jobs too fast. I mean, just a standard company job, it takes easily 6 months to onboard. AI has only been unleashed on the world not even 2 years ago, about a mere 18 months ago, and it's already completely upended several layers of our society. There's even a book on this, Better Without AI by David Chapman. I've not read it, but I am definitely going to be looking into getting this. And this whole website here catalogs some of these. Actually, existing and near future AIs are a net harmful, never mind their longer term risks. We should shut them down, not pussyfoot around hoping they can somehow be made safe. And while I agree generally that premise, the problem is if we shut it down here in the free world, as we like to pretend, other countries will not shut it down. And so it becomes another giant arms race. How bad has it gotten? Well, we've already talked about the scammers using it. We've already talked about the entire search engines are getting messed up. We're going to get into that more on our next point. But just think of all the most depraved points of our society that can be intensified. This article came out even after I compiled the notes for this video today. This article came out that night after I'd done this, and this just illustrates it. This just shows you how far they're going. Child predators are using AI to create CSAM images of their favorite stars. My body will never be made mine again. Now, when I first read this headline, and I read the headline and I threw it into my notes, I didn't read the article yet, and I had assumed what they were doing is they were using AI to put like movie stars into certain circumstances. Reading through the article, they did not actually make any reference. What it turns out is that there are whole collections of individual children who have been abused in real life and are constantly traded and shared online. But of course, children grow up and rings get busted and all this stuff happens. And so there's a finite collection of these, but people fall so in love with these images of abuse, they're now utilizing AI to create new images of abuse using these children who had past been abused. This is how depraved this stuff gets. Thoreau is right. He is right. Our improved technology gives us an improved means to reach our deteriorating ends. It's exactly right. Now, you will probably, or you may disagree with this premise. I am a believer. I am a Christian. And the fundamental principle of Christian theology is the fallenness of man. And I believe that man at his core is a sinner. I hold and subscribe to the doctrine of total depravity, which does not mean man is 100% totally depraved. It means all elements of a man's nature is tainted by sin. This is an illustration of that. We are so tainted by sin. We want to take illegal images of abused children and we want to twist them around utilizing our technology to fuel the disgusting perversions inside of our own minds. AI is a net negative for society. Now, the sad reality is AI is now being crammed into everything. Crammed into everything. In the latest fad, AI is the buzzword that even if it's not technically AI, they throw the word AI in there if the ignorant public does not recognize the difference. It is creating the SEO talking point that everybody wants to use to raise up in the algorithms as the rising tide of SEO raises every single ship. And we are too busy asking if we can do this to stop and ask if we should. Going right on back to Malcolm. All right. The core elements of nearly every single system are being forced into AI. Okay, we cannot forget that in AI, Microsoft wants to cram it everywhere. Now, we had a very slight, maybe not victory, but we'll call it a victory, and that Microsoft is now pulling elements of the recall application. I have heard, since not verified, but heard since they're going to completely remove it, make it, you have to actively install it. I have not seen that in verification. I've heard that, but at least as of right now, it is opt-in, not opt-in, not opt-out. But now they're trying to cram AI into the Edge browser. So they have added in a number of different things down here. Predicted top sites, predicted visible. There's just a number of different AI triggers that they're cramming into here, in addition to the ones they're cramming everywhere else. Of course, Apple just released at WWDC 2024 this last week that Apple is going to be cramming AI into nearly everything. Mac OS, the main desktop computers, their laptops, their phones, their tablets, Siri, all the stuff. They're going to implement this. Of course, Elon Musk comes out like, if they do this, I'm going to ban Apple products. Dude, ChatGPT, you're worried about Apple using ChatGPT? Microsoft owns ChatGPT and is doing far more aggressive things. So I hope that everybody in all of Elon Musk's companies are all using Linux. Hopefully Microsoft and Apple will all got banned. You can use Linux, BSD, and anything else that they homebrew themselves. Of course, I don't think I have the articles here, but Google Chrome is now going to be experimenting. Now, you might say Google Chrome, like Chrome OS, not Google Chrome, Chrome OS. Chrome OS is indeed a form of Linux. It is a heavily modified Gen 2. In my take, though, what it is, it's not any more Linux than is an Android phone. Yes, it's based on the Linux kernel, but you really can't do anything that you can do with any common Linux system. And so what happens then is we cram AI everywhere just to see if we can. And there is our one actually about our Chromebooks. I didn't think I had that one in there, but yes, Chrome OS is getting AI, and now Google is crammed AI so much into things and hoisted it upon us as the default option that we have to go intentionally other places. And now AI through basic search engines is telling us to put glue on our pizzas. Okay, so this is how it is going to be disastrously bad. Now, what happens when a company uses these things without taking those proper safeguards? Like, I remember when AI first came out, and only about 6 months later, we're at a writers conference. I was teaching at that one last year, but I did try and attend a couple of the seminars from one of the guys that was talking about AI and writing. And he does mention a number of good points, saying things like, yeah, AI can be good, but you can't rely on it entirely. You got to proofread it a lot. The problem is your average person, in their very nature of being a person, they are not going to do as much safeguarding. They're going to use AI, get the task done. As busy as we all are as people, all they are going to do is, oh, it's done, let's move on to the next thing, and then you leave all sorts of nonsense in there. There was a very fascinating story of this type of thing happening, and this is, if you didn't see the Willy Wonka experience, which was not an official Willy Wonka thing, and I'm actually surprised this guy has not been sued into oblivion for this, because it was a really, really twisted thing. So this guy, he's just one of these low-level scamsters. Nothing he really does rises to the level of an actual crime, but he's just you're an all-around dirtbag, effectively, right? And hey, this new tool comes up, and he can utilize this tool to exploit things. So he creates a bunch of AI images and this AI script and an AI play to create this Willy Wonka experience. This is in, I think it was in Glasgow, maybe. Yeah, Glasgow-based event. So the image over here on the left is the AI-generated Willy Wonka experience that went out on all of the promo, and on the right is the thing you actually saw. And this is actually the best photo from the actual event. And you had over here, this is apparently this is sold as a live Willy Wonka experience. They used AI images on the website to sell tickets, and people showed up and saw this, and it got so bad people called the cops. Is this an article or is this an image? Let me have a brief look here. So the images here. Here is the image that went up on the marketing stuff, and people paid some good money for this, and then they showed up to see this. Okay, so you got that, and then of course we also got the Lone Oompa Loompa, which has taken on a character of its own. It was called there was like a Breaking Bad analogy in this one. I forget exactly what it was, but it was quite hilarious. Breaking Sad, I think is what they called it. The Sad Oompa Loompa. And apparently the sad Oompa Loompa is actually went on to build somewhat of a career in following after all this nonsense. Back to their AI-generated nonsense where things weren't there. Notice the ensuring entertainment. That should probably be enchanting entertainment. And then you get all this weird stuff here. Cat cracking, live performances, Cartchy tons, exastridly lollipops, and a pasadise of sweet teats. Okay, and so obviously AI is used, but it wasn't edited, and that's what will generally happen as this stuff is hoisted upon us. That's the same image we saw earlier. If you want to see the best breakdown of this, go over to have a look at Minty Comics channel. It's Minty's Comedic Arts is his channel name on YouTube, and search this up. Back in March, he did a really, really good breakdown of this whole event with live video. It's great. The police interactions, it's totally awesome. But this is what happens as we cram AI into absolutely everything. And so what is the next step here? The reality is people in the know, people who are more knowledgeable about technology, tend to take a much more cautious stance. Okay, it's one thing when you go to a conference and somebody's giving a seminar and you don't know anything about it, and you see this tool and you go, wow, this can help me write. And so you turn it on and start using it to write, and then you get lazy and don't proofread and don't edit. And before you know it, you're submitting a work that is actually plagiarized from somebody else, because AI doesn't actually create things. It just regurgitates short little snippets taken from a bunch of other things. You're going to open yourself up some issues, and indeed some lawsuits are around about that. Now, as we've already mentioned here earlier, Elon Musk threatens to ban Apple devices from his companies over Apple's ChatGPT integrations. No word on Microsoft, which actually owns it. And the other factor I want to say, though, is that when you bring up Elon Musk, it is actually a problematic thing to bring him up specifically, because he is not only is he an early investor, possibly early co-founder of OpenAI, if I remember correctly, but he's also suing the company and creating a new competing product. So we have to take anything Elon Musk says about this with a little bit of a grain of salt. But looking at what is the difference between ChatGPT and Microsoft's, really they're very similar in what they can do. They mention here ChatGPT, natural language processing technology, uses machine learning. Copilot does effectively the same thing, but they try and taper it down a little bit just to bring that up. But not only Elon Musk, but thousands of other people have called for a 6-month moratorium on training AI. However, I mean, this was last year about this time, and this has had absolutely zero impact whatsoever, one way or another. And so it does raise some fascinating questions that people who know more about the technology, the original letter came out with 1,000 actual professionals, high-level professionals in the tech industry that said, yeah, AI is dangerous. We have to hold back a little bit here. this is certainly a problematic thing. Now, of course, even in the Linux world, Gentoo has come out and said, we're going to be cautious about it. They have an official policy. It is expressly forbidden to contribute to Gentoo any content that has been created with the assistance of natural language processing artificial intelligence tools. This motion can be revisited should a case be made over such a tool that does not pose copyright, ethical, or quality concerns. And that really is the fundamental problem of AI. It carries with it a great copyright, great ethical, and great quality concerns, and yet we have foisted our whole world. It's kind of like, but with greater consequence, when MP3s came out and we didn't have the compression down, they didn't sound quite as good as an actual CD, but we dealt with the lower quality so that we could get the more convenience. And that's exactly what AI is. However, the way it is being deployed on everything, to everything, everywhere, simultaneously at all times, the way it is implemented carries with it a lot more dire consequences than how we are choosing to consume music entertainment. And so with this, I want to mention that Linux is still the mostly free from the forced AI. There's probably going to be some Linux distributions that cram it in, probably some sooner than others. I would imagine if I had random guesses, I'm going to guess Ubuntu might be the first place we see it because it's trying to play kissy face with Microsoft and tends to do things that like the rest of in lockstep with the rest of the world. Of course, we might see something like that in Fedora and Red Hat for similar reasons. However, there is always going to be a choice. There's always going to be core developers that say, yeah, we don't want any of that nonsense. And also you have the ability with Linux to turn things down and say, hey, I want to do something different. I want to have more control over my system. And so Linux does become the last bastion where when every device that you have wants to cram AI down your throat, when they want to use AI for choosing which websites you visit or how you set up your computer, or, hey, would you like help writing this document? Hey, I see you're writing an email. Would you like my help? If you want to have that last bastion against that, then Linux is your final stronghold. Now, as we wrap up this video, AI is not all bad. There are elements where it can be good. Now, in my case, I won't use it. I won't use it out of simple principle that I am here raising the warning bell against it. I'm not going to be the guy that walks in the bar telling everybody stop drinking while I guzzle down some vodka. It ain't going to happen. Okay. I personally have made that decision. I am not using AI on anything that I do because I am not interested in being a hypocrite in that matter. So it is not all bad, but our human nature is what causes more people to use it for bad than for good, because we have to use restraining action to temper everything it does. And the average person does not have the wherewithal to do that. It will produce a net negative for society. We do need to pause AI and use it more intentionally, just like we use our computers. We have to use it intentionally, not as a selling point, not as a gimmick, not as a fad, not as a response that everybody is doing this, therefore we must too. It will be Linux that keeps us in control of our world. And if we do not hold on to that firmly and say, no, I will not use your AI, I will not use your system if you do, if we do not take that stance, we are going to hand ourselves over, sacrificing ourselves on the altar of the AI God who is about to sacrifice us. That is our warning. With this, I hope that you have enjoyed the presentation here. Let me know if you have thoughts on it. Am I completely right? Am I completely wrong? Let me know in the comments. If you do like this type of content, you've not already, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button and leave us a comment down below. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.